profess any form of religion, but I do believe in something that's higher, that's working within all of us, that brought us here. And that being cannabis. It's pretty basic, but many of us are called upon to do certain things in our lives. We live a life of parenting and business. I want to be a nurse or a fireman or a lawyer or a doctor, or the best mom or grandma or grandfather I can be. And then there's those of us that are called to and be challenged by cannabis. Some of us really think it's a great show. It's a big hoo-ha. And many of us are critically ill and need voices that can support their own, because whether they're able to make it or able to communicate at all, they need a voice of reason and common sense for cannabis. And as a child growing up, I'm very fortunate that I grew up in a very good environment, and I was able to use diplomacy in the political world through my family. So kind of a skill acquired. But when history's made, it only really happens once. It doesn't happen twice. And I was but a child in my very early teens that was able to get some Colombian cannabis and some Hawaiian and cross-pollinated. I was actually, not good. And, but anyway, we held on to the seeds that year and grew them the next year, and we grew the plants, and little and behold, it was America's very first international hybrid. 45 years later. But the story, yes, the story of the Gainesville Green is one I think that all of us, everybody in here, and those of us in our community, and around the nation and the world, should be proud of. And as Mr. Sessa said earlier, that we should all step forward. Everybody has a story. We're all here for a reason. And it was really to help champion cannabis and our rights. I try to do it at the highest levels I can. And with a sense of humility that's learned. Many things you can acquire in life, but being called upon and chosen and to understand your calling in cannabis is really what separates all of us. So we need to help educate, whether it be your mother, your grandmother, your father, your doctor. I did it with my doctor. My whole life, I spent 25 years with this doctor telling him what I would do, and he just couldn't believe what I was doing. And when I challenged cannabis in New Hampshire, in the medical, I was one of the very first patients in our state. And I was honored by that. I'm considered our state's expert in counsel to the council. I'm not an attorney, but I educate them. And I think that's the message we should all carry, that we can educate every one of us. But just take that moment to plant that seed, and just, whether they might be prohibitions completely, I've helped turn those tides, and so can you. We all do it through cannabis. And if we do it again with diplomacy and respect and not anger. Because remember, cannabis can't see a thing, but its electromagnetic field is symbiotic to not only our souls, but to all things that surround us. It's very intuitive to what we do and how we share a positive message. And I believe that as we move forward here in Florida, that True Leaf, Chris, Sunshine Cannabis, Regulate Florida, the Florida Coalition, Cannabis Coalition, and all of you have a chance at making history. I live in a small state now. Florida is my home state. I chose to move to New Hampshire almost 30 years ago. I'm the longest tenured Cuban in New Hampshire's history. They always ask me, why do I live there? And well, I'm shivering. But it was a calling. And sometimes I say this to many, that I don't wish it upon everybody. To champion cannabis as a gladiator or warrior, you think about those movies and those gladiators fighting their asses up against those lions and people who kind of feels like that sometimes. And then you see what social media has to say and how it can be divisive and not collective as cannabis wants us to be. Cannabis is intuitive to that. And as I am intuitive to this room and the feelings that I sense, we're on the right path. We're almost there. I appreciate all of the people who've come here to support Gainesville. And like me, it's very humbling, and thank you very much for coming. And we have to give credence to where it's due. And he's no longer with us. But if it wasn't for Bobby Bullard, a childhood friend of mine, it wouldn't be a Gainesville Green. So for Bobby Bullard, naming it, and for the highest powers that were that day that majestically pollinated those two beautiful plants that we're able to share now with True Leaf and Sunshine Cannabis, the Gainesville Green True Pod. I got to try it, and I closed my eyes and I wept as I am now.
Nice.
The memories that flooded back were just...
Hey,
this only happens once.
Thank you, Rick. That's
You're very welcome.
my life.
This only happens once, guys, and what you're seeing right now is the raw, real essence of what it is to be called upon to be a cattle warrior and a true champion for all of us. And I do it with dignity, respect, and pride for every single patient, child, legislator, rep, governor. And I'll challenge anybody to speak derogatorily regarding cannabis or any science and data that might reflect a biased and unprincipled discussion about it. But I will challenge the dynamics of the science of my being and cannabis' relationship and the multitude of us and many others. So again, as we move forward in this day and age, we're almost there. Thank you very much for coming, and thanks again for supporting me, Chris, and sharing to bring my family here. That was awesome. Thank you so much, everybody.
This is basically a carving that I frequent flea markets, and I came across both of these together. Well, Dusty, I guess they're brothers, but obviously this is King of Kings, Judah, True Lion Warrior, my heart, right? Free the flower in Orlando. I beat that drum. I beat it for everybody.
Yeah, I want to share for just a moment. You know, you see the effect that cannabis has on people? It's not so much just directed at me. Yeah, I really do think my Lord and my God and my Savior for helping bring balance with cannabis in our community.
Yes.
I want to thank Swamp City, my family, my friends from the swamp, who found me
Thank you, Rick. God, it's very rare that I listen to somebody speak where my thoughts stop and I'm just completely taken over with pure emotion. I mean, Rick embodies what this movement is about. You know, you have to remember we're fighting a war that's been waged against a plant. Think about how crazy that is for a second. We're these living, breathing humans with all these stresses and all health problems, bills, love, anger, loss, gain, all these incredible things that we have to deal with, and just a world of obstacles. And this beautiful healing plant brings us relief, can cure cancers, can give us food, can give us fuel, can give us medicine, can give us peace, can let us have fun. And I don't feel in my heart that there's really this separation that the law has given us with medical cannabis over here, and this is recreational cannabis over here. It's cannabis. Okay, let's be honest about what this plant is. You shouldn't have to be sick or dying to have the legal right to use a plant that came from the earth where we came from. And this war that has been waged on us and on a plant for so long by people who probably, they mean well, they're doing their jobs, but it's all out of greed. The agenda behind prohibition is greed. The reason cannabis was ever made illegal was because of greed. It's because of people trying to control other people. This is about freedom. This is about humans.
Yes.
And you know the awesome thing, and I'm not the first one to say it, but I'll stand up here and say it proud, the plant is still winning today. The plant is still winning this war. Amen. And, you know, I'm 38 years old. My story, my journey with cannabis started when I was a young teenager. And I don't know if I've told anyone this story, but I've got an uncle who used to grow plants back in the, I guess it was in the 70s. I grew up in Boynton Beach, Florida, and there was a big canal out back, and there was all these woods across from us. And it was like swamps back there. There was alligators and water moccasins, you know, and I grew up out there. I was like a swamp kid myself. I literally, if you look at pictures of me from when I was little, I'm holding alligators, and I'm skinning water moccasins, and hell, I've been bit by them twice, and survived. We'll have to talk about it. So I grew up on this canal, and that was my whole life, was fishing, and out there shooting my BB guns, and just being out like in the water, and with nature, and there's, you know, snakes and lizards and everything else, eagles and hawks, and I was out there one day, and I was out in the shed, and I opened this book, and I saw something I'd never seen before. There was this old like almanac in the shed. It was all old and like faded, and I opened it up, and this big sativa leaf fell out. No, I kid you not. It was the first time I'd actually seen like anything to do with weed. I'd never actually touched or held anything. I was really, really young, and this big leaf fell out. I didn't know at the time. I mean, it was this, you know, narrow leaf sativa, and I mean, hell, it could have been Gainesville green for all I know. I don't know. Everybody was growing it. It was the best. But I saw this leaf, and I didn't really know what it was, you know, but I knew what it was. Because, you know, you see it on TV, you know, you see it in books, magazines, and everything. I was like, wow. I was like, this is pot. I was like, this is pot right here, you know? And it was so crazy. This is a true story, I swear. This really happened. And so eventually a little piece of it broke, and I burned it. I burned a little piece, and I smelled it. It was the first time I caught the little whiff of the little aroma of pot. It was just an old dry leaf. Probably wasn't even any THC in it. But I got this little tingle. It is a little sparkle. No, I swear. This is true. This little tingle. It was like, you know, I could hear the music in my head. It's like a little tingle. And I was probably like 13 years old. I was like 13 years old. And, you know, and then I was like, oh, my mom was going to be home from work pretty soon. And I was I was like, oh my God, this looks pot out here now. I was so paranoid, and I like went and I put the leaf back in the book and I stuck it back in the shed. And that was the first time I'd ever actually seen weed. It was just a leaf, but it was beautiful. I remember holding it up, and I remember looking at it, and it was something special. I'm an empath. I'm an energy guy. For you, those of you that don't know me, I'm like a long hair, like crystal-loving hippie. I carry crystals around with me, and I'm like full-blown like weed hippie guy. That's my life. And I was like that when I was little. I was really into like the earth, nature, and there was something special about this leaf. I knew, I didn't know, but I knew. I knew that I was going to have a future with this plant. I could just tell, I saw it, and there was like rays of light around this little leaf. And it was a special leaf. And I'll never forget that. I'll never forget that first little smell and that first little whiff. And that was the first time that I really ever touched or held or really like smelled weed. And years later, my dad got sick with cancer. And, I was having trouble in high school. And I was a very strong little child. I really didn't want to be in school. I wanted to go get a career, get my own place and all this stuff. And we lost my dad when I was 16. To cancer from smoking cigarettes. And at the time, the oncologist had suggested that we use cannabis. And he said, hey, you can get him some it would probably help. It was kind of off the record. This was back in, this was the early 90s. So it was like the height of the drug war, and it was very, very, very illegal. And it was very taboo. Obviously lots of people were smoking pot in Florida, but my dad, he was a really hard-working guy. He didn't break any laws, and he wasn't really against it, but he wasn't really for it, and we didn't really have access. He was in the hospital. He was getting chemotherapy, and it all happened so quickly. And back then there wasn't a lot of information about like Rick Simpson oil, Narfico, and it wasn't available. I mean, you could buy weed, but nobody had really like hash oil and stuff, and I didn't have access. I was a young teenager. I just started growing some plants out in the backyard at the time, which my mom used to pull up and yell at me. And I'd always plant more, And we lost my dad. He was a good man. His name was Albert Williams, and he was a plumber, and he worked with his hands. He gave me everything. I mean, he took really good care of me and my mom. And when he was gone, when we lost my dad, we lost everything. We lost our house. We had a fishing boat that I remember he was so proud to buy. It was a little 21-foot angler. It was an angler, open fisherman with 150 horsepower Evinrude on the back, and it was his dream to buy one. And he bought it. We owed payments on it, and obviously we couldn't keep it after he was gone. But I saw him die, and I saw a strong, vigorous, healthy, smart man go from health to a skeleton of himself in the course of like 9 months. And he was gone. And he's buried. He's in Boynton Beach. I still go over and I see his, and I go to his grave probably, once a month. I always get emotional when I go there. But I wish he was here today. I wish that we had RSO then. I wish laws would have been different. I wish, I would have been older. I wish so many things, because I know that cannabis really would have saved, would have saved my dad. There's no doubt about it. I'm 100% sure. Knowing what I know now about medicine in the body, and about cancer, and about the way that cannabis works in your endocannabinoid system, and the way that THC induces apoptosis, programmed cell death, and the type of cancer he had, and I've helped save other lives since then. They weren't my dad's, but you know what? A life is a life, and they're all just as precious. And if I can save people's lives, and if I can help free this plant, or have a big part in it, I feel like that is my calling in life. And just like Rick said, he said, some of us are called. I've been called to do this. My whole life, no matter what I tried to do, got into gemstones and jewelry. I'm a registered gemologist. I was in the internet, marketing, and advertising. I went all these different routes, and somehow, some way, I would always get funneled right back to cannabis. And I grew in South Florida for over 20 years, illegally. And I gave away a lot of seeds. I gave away tens of thousands of cannabis seeds, and they're out there. They're out there growing. People have them. People are out there making their own medicine, and I'm proud of that, and I speak freely about that. And it's time to stop being afraid, okay? Because we're talking about a plan here. Remember, we're talking about a plan. The whole reason that Sunshine Cannabis started, the whole entire reason, and this is my dream, was to be able to give away medicine. And Robert Roundtree can vouch for me on this. When I met Robert and I told him what I wanted to do with Sunshine Cannabis, I said, we want to grow a ton of weed, and we want to use all the trim and everything else, and we want to make oil, and I want to give it to cancer patients. That's what I said. Because of, losing my dad, it's kind of been my dream to always be able to do some kind of compassionate program and give back. And while we're not there to that specific goal and dream yet, we're closer than ever. And like an angel, literally like an angel that came down out of heaven, Kim Rivers and True Leaf are helping to make my dream come true, to give back to the people of Florida and to be compassionate. And today, they've sponsored a big giveaway in Gainesville with the original creator, Rick Naya of Gainesville Green. And all 100 patients today are going to get a free Gainesville Green True Pod and a battery, and the True Stick device, free of charge. Free of charge. And that's just the beginning. That's just the start. And what we have to remember is that laws don't change themselves, okay? They're not going to change themselves. You're not just going to wake up one day and, it's on the ballot. Because that's what everyone always tells me. They say, when's legalization coming? And when can I grow? And they're like, when does it get on the ballot? Well, it gets on the ballot when you get up off your ass. And you do something. Right. That's when it gets on the ballot. When you make an effort, when you get out of your comfort zone, okay, because your comfort zone, we are an indoctrinated people. Okay, we are born into this system of money and bills and school and control, and there's a lot of rigid guidelines and little boxes you have to fit in. And some of us just don't want to fit in those little boxes. Okay, and we are the Canna Warriors. We're the free thinkers. And the beautiful thing about cannabis is I believe it enhances that creativity and that open mindset. And that's why they try to keep this plant oppressed. Because they don't want to free people, and they don't want free thinkers. They want people to be like little rats in a cage. Go to work, pay your bills, live your life, and don't be a squeaky wheel. Well, guess what? We are loud, and we are proud, and you are not going to put us back in the box. It's too late. It's too late. We have come out of the cannabis closet, and I will always speak freely now until we have complete total legalization. This plant has been locked away in a cage, and people have been locked away in cages for too damn long for no good reason. Does anyone in this room have any reason, any reasonable explanation of why we should keep cannabis illegal? Does anyone in this room have any idea why that would be a good idea? How many people in here think that we should free this plant, we should be able to grow it at home if we want? So that's what we're doing. I mean, we have a ballot initiative called Regulate Florida, and I'm sure most of you in this room hopefully have signed it. If you haven't, we have petitions here today that you can sign. We have over 60,000 signed now. It takes a long time. It takes a lot of resources. It takes a lot of boots on the ground. It takes a lot of money. The entire team, Michael Minardi, who should be here very shortly, he's on his way. Karen Goldstein, who's the co-chair of Regulate Florida. Myself, I'm a board member. I'm a director of Regulate Florida. And we are working to free the plant. And I've taken my company, we've leveraged my brand, and our followers, and all of our colorful shirts, and all the events we go to. It's all about legalization. It's about Regulate Florida. That's what this is about. Okay? I'll have you know that so far in the cannabis business, I've yet to make any money. That's the God honest truth. What I've found myself doing is spending a lot of money, and finally things have reached a point, thanks to True Leaf, where we're able to be self-sustaining and we're able to have a revenue stream to support those legalization efforts. And I'll speak for a moment on True Leaf because they're an incredible company, and I don't know I don't know if you guys know this, but Trulieve is all Floridians at the wheel. I mean, Kim Rivers is a Floridian. The whole board, they're Floridians. It's a Florida first company. They employ like 2,000 good people here in Florida. Give them jobs. Give them jobs and a livelihood and a career where they can advance and where they have the ability to affect change and to help people. And you know, let's just be honest about what this is. This is healthcare right now. I mean, this is a healthcare industry. You know, this is real healthcare. And I know you guys have seen the shirts. You can't spell healthcare without the THC in the middle. Right? Look at it. Healthcare, there's that THC right in the middle. You can't spell healthcare without the THC. And, you know, there are many people without cannabis, without their medicine, they would be on pharmaceuticals. They would be on opiates. They would be having 12 different drugs in their body, and things would be causing reactions and adverse side effects. I'll tell you about 3 years ago, my mom was diagnosed with Hashimoto's, which is an autoimmune disease where your immune system attacks your thyroid. And we didn't know what was wrong with her. And it was a really bad time. It was a dark time of my life. And me and my fiance of 8.5 years had actually went separate ways. And this was at the height of my activism efforts and to launch Sunshine Cannabis. And we were trying to get Amendment 2 passed. And in 2014, it failed. And we missed it. We missed it by like 1%. And it was devastating. It was devastating. And that was a really, really, really difficult time for me. And we didn't know what the hell was wrong with my mom. She was rapidly losing weight. They thought she had dementia or Alzheimer's. We didn't know what was going on with her. And, you know, I've been doing a lot of researching on the internet. And I figured out it was probably her thyroid. I took her to a thyroid specialist. Long story short, her thyroid was all messed up. And, you know, she'd been in and out of the hospital. I mean, she was like on the verge of death. She was having heart problems and just all kinds of stuff was going wrong with her because they'd give her one medicine. They'd say, take this. You know, this will treat this. And then something else, they'd say, well, take this for this side effect. Oh, you got nausea? Take this for the nausea. And before you know it, she's got 12 prescriptions, and she's having all kinds of issues, and she's having liver problems, and kidney problems, and heart arrhythmias, and she can't sleep, and she's not eating, and she's losing weight, and everything's just going haywire because the body needs nature. Medicine comes from the earth. Okay, there are circumstances, there are exceptions. Western medicine is vital. Let's not get that. I mean, let's be clear about that. Western medicine, modern medicine, have been advances in surgeries, techniques, life-saving, preventative measures, which are incredible. I mean, which benefit all of mankind. We have a higher life expectancy now than any time ever in history. But that being said, has anyone noticed that there is a trend to get back to natural, holistic, plant-based medicine? And there's a reason for that, because as much as we're advancing and we're learning, we're figuring out that the ancient people, our ancestors, they had it figured out already. Okay? The earth, nature, okay, these plants, they have medicine in them. Now that we have learned so much, and we have laboratories, and we have all these advances in science, and we have all of this trial and error throughout decades and generations of mankind, using plants and herbs from the earth. I love cannabis, but there's more to medicine than just cannabis. It's a spoke in the wheel of wellness. Cannabis doesn't fix everything, okay? It doesn't fix everything. But what cannabis does is cannabis very strongly impacts your body's ability to maintain homeostasis. It's important. Homeostasis, the ability to eat, sleep, think clearly, feel at peace, feel well-being. Okay, the mind controls the body. When you can heal your mind, and when you can reduce inflammation in your body, and when you can be at peace, and you can eat, and you can sleep, those are things that are taken away by some modern medications and by some diseases. And cannabis is a miracle plant, but there's other miracle plants. There's things like cayenne and ginger and turmeric. There's many. There's a pharmacopoeia of natural holistic medicine. It cures. And what we have to do as a people is we have to realize that cannabis is the tip of the spear. Okay? because many of us have been persuaded into a life of pill popping. If something's wrong, you go to the doctor, you get a pill. That's what you think. You know, it's like, oh, I'm sick. I got to go to the doctor and go get antibiotics. Well, did you know that colloidal silver and, turmeric and things like oregano from oregano, Mediterranean oregano, it's more powerful, more effective than any antibiotic. And plus, bacteria cannot become resistant to it. Okay? And there are just so many instances and cases where choosing nature first is always going to be beneficial for your mind and body, much more so over modern Western medicine. And we have to get back to the ways of Eastern medicine. We have to get back to our roots and to the earth. And to me, that's what cannabis is about. And that's why after losing my dad and seeing him succumb to cancer from cigarettes, I knew that it was going to be my path in life. Even though at the time I didn't understand it, I knew that one day I'd stand up here. I didn't know how or where or when or why, but I knew it was going to happen. It was deep in the back of my mind. And today my goal is to free this plant. And I don't care if I make 1 penny. If I have to sell my whole company, if I have to find some rich investor and say, hey man, we need X amount of millions of dollars to get this on the ballot, I'm going to do it.
Let's do it.
I will do it. You guys, listen to what I'm telling you. I don't care. The money to me doesn't matter. It's simply a bridge to get things done. But we have to pay for things. We have to fund this initiative. It takes money. You can't do it without money because it's a system, it's a framework that we live in, and we got to play ball. Okay, we're in the game. We got to play ball. So thankfully, we're able to launch our new campaign. It's called Vaporize to Legalize, and we're giving 20% back of every dollar spent when you purchase a Gainesville Green, one of our pods. Let me see these boxes. The yellow, the Gainesville Green. Gainesville Green True Pod from Truly, which every patient here is going to receive free of charge today. When you buy one, anytime, anywhere in the Sunshine State, at any Truly, buy it online, buy it in the store, doesn't matter. We take 20%, and I give it to regular Florida. Period. For as long as it takes. We're donating, thank you, and we're donating a portion of all proceeds. I have another announcement to make. Robert's not going to like this. Where's Robert at? Where's Red? There you are. We're giving 20% of everything company-wide from here forward. Every product. Sunshine goods, our sticks, anything new we come out with. 10% to me just didn't sound like enough. We started 10%, and I said, you know what? 10% is not enough. I want 20% across the board. Hold me to it, on record. You guys heard. 20% moving forward, and we have a lot of incredible things playing with Trulieve. And again, I have to just give Trulieve the appreciation and thanks for believing in a Florida company. You know, I come from, my mom is an accountant, and my dad was a plumber, and I didn't grow up with a silver spoon in my mouth. Believe me. I mean, I had toys and I had food, I had clothes, but we were just kind of like a middle-class family. And I didn't grow up on a yacht. I didn't have like a big luxurious house or anything. I mean, my dad would come home and his hands would be covered in filth and grease. And my mom worked 2 jobs sometimes. And I don't come from a background where I have a lot of resources. And to have a company like Trulieve, literally the biggest, I mean the best, #1 in Florida, for them to believe in us, to give us an opportunity. I don't even know, words don't properly convey my appreciation and my loyalty to Trulieve permanently. I mean, for what they've done for us and for Florida, what they continue to do, and we together are going to free the plant. I mean, it's going to happen. Yeah. And you will be able to grow your own cannabis at home in Florida. Woo. If you are an adult 21 and over, you will be able to legally buy cannabis without having to get a card, without having to go see a doctor, without having to not have milligrams that week, without having to go through all the brain damage, all the things that are associated right now. Our medical program is it's here, thankfully. We have medical cannabis, thank God. But it's not what I voted for. No. Who in here voted for Amendment 2 in 2016? Who voted yes? Right, we are the 71.3%. Remember that. And you can't get that many people to agree on what color something is. If I say, look, that background is white, you're going to have 50% of people are going to say, no, that's an off-white gray. You know? It's just 71.3%. I mean, let's think about that for a moment. So if you've got 10 people in a room, more than 7 of them, voters, just average everyday from all walks of life voters, voted for medical cannabis. I did not vote to only be able to vaporize. I did not vote to have to go to my doctor and say, please, doctor, please give me milligrams this month, doctor. Can I have milligrams? More milligrams, please, sir. I mean, what the hell is that? Is that what we voted for? I didn't vote for that. And then 10%? I don't even want to bring it up because it's a buzzkill. 10%. So let me get this straight. So DeSantis says, let's legalize flower. We're going to do it. I want to get reelected. Smart guy. Smart guy. He's a very smart guy. And then they say, we're going to only let you have 2.5 ounces per 35 days. We're like, okay, it's better than none. Right? It's better than breaking open the little cups and having to pick all the damn ceramic out of it. Right? Right? How many of you cut ceramic cups? Okay. So then they say, then after the fact, everyone's happy, we're buying True Flower, we got Lemon OG and all these killer strains and we got Truly, rolling Jack Hare, and all this stuff's like 23, 25% THC. Everyone's blazing big fatties, and we're like, woo, did it! And then what do they say? We're going to change it to 10%. Because we want you to have to, there's dangers associated with smoking. We want you to have to smoke twice as much. What the hell is that? I mean, it doesn't make sense. So you got to understand that even in a legalized medical state, it's your constitutional right in Florida to use medical marijuana. Yep. Constitutional right, they can't take it away. We'd have to vote it out. We'd have to literally collect signatures, like 1 million signatures, and vote it on it again for them to get rid of it. They can't take it away. So what do they want to try to do? They want to put a lot of red tape on it. Restrict it. We can't let that happen. Now, I'm going to tell you this. Whether they pass this 10% nonsense or not, you will still be able to get high THC concentrates. It's only smokable flower. But the problem that I have with it is that the people who benefit the most from whole smokable flower, people who've been smoking pot their whole life, who've been using it before they even realized that it was a medicine, they will have to buy twice as much, and they will have to smoke twice as much, and it's simply unfair, it's unconstitutional, and it's not what we voted for. That's right. And if people had a right to grow their own at home, or for their neighbor to grow it, and just transfer it to them like you could do under Regulate Florida, I'd say fine. You guys want to do your 10%? We wish you the best of luck. Because we're going to grow our own shit for 30%. So this is where we have to change laws. You know, if you don't like something, if you don't agree with something, then you take steps and you rally the troops, okay? And everyone gets off their asses and makes change. That's what we're here for. I mean, who in this room wants to grow their own cannabis? Right? And I did for many years. And by the grace of God, you know, the ex-girlfriends that were mad at me, they're, I'm going to tell cops what you got. And the landlord's knocking on the door, you know, boom, boom, boom. Oh, you could come in and do a fire inspection. Oh, hey, man, I got the flu, man, not today. I'll call you. You know, and I'm looking out the window and seeing the cop cars at the neighbor's house, and oh my God, if they're coming here, they know, you know. I mean, the years of hiding, the years of stress, the years of not wanting to say the word like weed on the phone. You know, like the shit was insane. I mean, it was nuts. Like, you know, and coming home from Walmart, you know, and I got like jugs of water, and I'm like, oh man, that car is following me. They saw me buying the water. They knew, man. And I'd be doing loops and shit all night to get back to my house. It was insane. The madness. the madness, the waking up in the middle of the night, you know, and you hear a little noise, and you're like, oh my God, it's the SWAT team, you know. And until you've lived that and done that for all those years, you know, and honestly and admittedly, I gave most of it away. I wasn't like growing it and selling it. I was doing a lot of breeding. I was doing a lot of seed making, and I would just give seeds away. And I speak freely about it. I don't care. You know, come get me. Come get me. Prove it. So you know, cannabis is something that we have to free, and it represents so many incredible things for us. And right now, we're doing what we can, but we can't do it alone. So you know, we need everyone out there. I can't speak for other people's money or resources, but I can tell you that we are like 10,000 signatures away from Supreme Court review. We're like 10,000, literally like 10,000 signatures away, and it's been a long path. But I can tell you that if we do pass Regulate Florida, it will be a constitutional change, just like Amendment 2 was. Okay, and the great part is that 2020 is a presidential election year. Yep. And that means lots of motivated young voters. Okay, and I have to say, you know, we used to always be talking about, oh, we want the young vote, we want the young vote. Well, I'm seeing more people, like in their 40s, 50s, 60s now, that are more fired up about this issue and are more involved in activism than the young people. I've seen a shift because everyone figured out they've been lied to. People have been lied to. I tried pot. Oh my God, you know, I didn't turn into a demon, and the sky didn't fall, and I'm not strung out in an alley with a joint in my arm. You know, I mean, right? So you know, so people figured out they've been lied to, and I don't like being lied to. You know, I don't like being lied to, and when I'm lied to, I have to think to myself, I say, well, why have they lied to me for so long? You know, what are they trying to hide? You know, why are they trying to keep this plant illegal? And you know, to the people out there who say, well, we don't want to regulate it. You know, don't regulate it. You know, don't regulate it. It's just like a tomato. Well, you can't smoke tomatoes. You can't make clothes out of tomatoes. You can't make fuel out of tomatoes. Tomatoes may be very good for you, but they don't cure cancer. They may help prevent it. I eat a lot of tomatoes. I love them. Lots of lycopene. It's good for your eyes. Full of vitamin C. But cannabis is a lot bigger and more important than grapes or tomatoes or all the other things that it gets compared to out there. Where people say, oh, it should just be able to just grow freely along the side of the road. Well, the fact of the matter is there probably would be like little young kids cutting it down and smoking it. I don't want that either, okay? We want responsible use, responsible adult use. We want it to be regulated so that the state can fairly tax it like anything else. I mean, we live in an economy, you know, and this is Florida. I mean, capitalism is great. I want people to be able to make money. You know, who in here wants to make money in the cannabis industry and have their own cannabis business, right? So if I say to you, well, hey, let's just legalize it, and we're all gonna sing Kumbaya and hold pinkies and just well, the fact of the matter is you're not gonna have a business. You're not going to be able to make a living. Okay. The fact that you cannot have a business right now, and the fact that there is only a limited amount of licenses, even though I'm a partner with Trulieve and I absolutely love Trulieve, Kim Rivers herself has told me, she said, we believe in opening up the market, and we want there to be more brands and more companies, because she understands the economy. She understands the market. We understand that people should have a right to grow their own at home. Do you know that Trulieve is the only MMTC in the entire state of Florida? They already filed a petition with the Department of Health to be able to sell seeds and clones. Did you know that? And Trulieve believes and supports the right to home grow, and that's important to me. So, you know, we had a lot of people that wanted to do a lot of things with us early on because, you know, Sunshine Cannabis, obviously, it's a good brand. I mean, we're the brand of the Sunshine State. But we're only as good as the people that we have in our corner. And that's why we chose Trulieve, because they believe in the same things, and they have the same dream that I have, and that is to free the plant. And, you know, all of us in this room, if we're 21 and up, we can go right now Go down to the corner, we can go to Publix, we can go wherever, go to a grocery store and buy a bottle of wine or buy some beer. Okay? We can also make it at home. Most of us aren't going to. Why? Pain in the ass. Right? And it's not going to probably be as good as the stuff in the store. Maybe you're out at dinner and you're having a nice steak, pasta dinner or something. Whatever. Sushi, tofu, whatever. Veggie burgers. But, you know, what are you going to do? You're going to bring your wine, your backpack with your wine you made at home. You know, little spigot, you know, put it in your glass. I can eat this. This is my wine I made. No, you're going to buy it at the restaurant. Right? You're going to buy it at the restaurant. It's the same with cannabis. And people who don't understand the marketplace and the dynamics of that, they say, well, the dispensaries don't want it legal because then everyone's just going to grow their own. Well, that's not really true. I'm probably going to grow what I want. And then I'm going to be like, okay, well, I got this awesome white widow. Naya gave me some seeds from like 100 years ago. This is forward-looking, guys. Well, the first people in the first person what in Florida to grow white widow or in the nation? Yeah, he's got some incredible history. So I'm saying, okay, I've got my white widow, I've got my sunshine kush, you know, I got this, I got that, but then I'm gonna be like, hey, I want some purple Urkel today. I'm gonna go down to the dispensary and get some purple Urkel, you know, or I'm gonna go get some Granddaddy Purple. Variety's the spice of life. Okay, in states with home grow, there's robust sales. Okay, there's more cannabis. There's more access. There's more medicine for people who cannot afford it. That's what this is about. People with money who can just buy whatever they want, which some of you in this room can buy whatever you want. You don't even think about it. It's like, swipe the card, ATM, get the cash up. Buy whatever you want. Not everyone can do that. Some people are literally counting down to the penny. Yes. I'm going to pay my bill. I'm going to pay this bill. Barely pay rent, and I'm going to have like $40 left over for my weed this month. And then they go without. I'm not okay with that. Okay, I'm not okay with that. Why should someone be allowed to grow it, but then you at home can't do it? It's the same plant. We're in the same state. It's the same purpose you're using it for. There's this fundamental disconnect, I think, between the lawmakers and the current policy and humanity and our needs. Because this comes down to humans and to nature. And we are nature. And I don't believe that any man has the right to make any plant illegal, especially cannabis. Especially a plant as sacred as incredible as cannabis. So I want you guys to please, in the spirit of legalization and frame the plant, welcome Michael Minardi, head of Regulate Florida. Right now with Regulate Florida. He is the chairman, and I am honored and proud to call him my friend and confidant. This guy's incredible. I love you, brother. The microphone is all you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you. This thing on. Can you hear me? It's a great day out here in Gainesville with the launch of our first partner, True Leave, with Gainesville Green. They've been great supporters of us, and more of the MMTCs are coming on board in understanding of legalization. And we need this now. This isn't about waiting around for this to happen. This is about us taking it. And we have that opportunity. We're lucky right now in Florida. We have the right to have ballot initiatives. We have the right to change the laws if we choose to do so. We see what the legislature does after we do that. It's getting more and more ridiculous every single day with what they're trying to do. This 10% limit on flower only is absurd. It's illogical, and it must stop. The only way to stop it is by activism and action. And this is an awesome room today and a great turnout up here to see people coming out and getting involved and wanting to be a part of this. And we need you more than ever. This is Cannabis Awareness Month in April. We have our national holiday on 4/20, right? You know, when you look at the parties going on in Vegas and Colorado, you have to be a little bit envious. Yeah. You have to understand, we still do not have the right to celebrate this holiday like we should be able to. You don't have the right to go in the morning and check on your babies and see if they're doing well. Pluck a bud or two to have. Maybe juice some flour. And we need that here in the state of Florida. And as you can see, our legislature is not going to come close to doing it. Not even close. And we know, if you've seen and you've followed our legislature, they have done nothing to reform cannabis laws in this state unless there was a ballot initiative down their throat. 2014, right? They passed the low THC to try to fend off Amendment 2. And it potentially may have worked, right? People didn't go out to vote. We got 57%. 2016, what they do? They passed the Right to Try Act. We're going to give people full cannabis. We went forward and we passed by 71% medical. But we know our patients aren't getting what they need. There's not enough availability. And you don't have the right, as this ruling held the other day in the First District Court of Appeals, unfortunately on the Redner case, patients do not have the right for home cultivation. And we know, right? Them. I know they want to. They've submitted an application to sell plants. They understand this market, and everybody should have that right. And we're the only way that that's going to happen within the next probably 6 to 8 years. Guaranteed. Because if they're not even thinking about, talking about decriminalization, thinking about limiting a THC cap, ensuring that there more licenses aren't issued for other operators and people to get involved in this industry, still no edibles on the shelves. What do you think they're going to do for legalization so everyone can use it? You think that's a possibility? One of the most foremost representatives or senators, Brandis, I think he, like maybe 2026? Are you kidding me?
How many people will be dead by then?
Yeah. Can we wait for that? Do we want to wait for that?
No.
That's right. But we have the ability to change it, and we are so close to Supreme Court review with Regulate Florida. Before any of the prior medical marijuana amendments ever were, they didn't start until June or July of before the year of the election. We're early, we're educating, and we're getting out here to be able to leave. We're on the campaign trail for the next 6 months to get this done. That's why I drove 2 hours up here today to be here, to support this event, to support FCC, who's been supporting us from the beginning. But we need you, the people, because you make it happen. This month is important. You know, True Leaf stores and some of the other stores, we can have volunteers out there at any point in time getting petitions signed. It's honestly like shooting fish in a barrel. Do you want to sign a petition for legalization as a medical patient? 99% of the people do. And a lot of them still have not signed this petition. So a couple hours one day helps. Anything that you can do helps. Taking 10, 20 home and getting your friends and family to sign it helps. We need about 20,000 verified petitions. That's it. We're going to be at 65,000 probably within the next 30 days as they verify the new batches we sent in. And 76,000 is what we need for Supreme Court review to tell everybody that our petition is valid and it's good and it's legal to be on the ballot. That's step one. And we're confident we're going to pass that. Absolutely. If you don't know about our amendment and modeled after Colorado, horizontal is required, and if the state doesn't act, we allow municipalities to do it. So get involved with local elections. Right? They wouldn't be able to do this BS that they're doing 2 years and preventing people and businesses to get involved, taking 2 years to get flour. January 8th of 2021, you can start popping seeds here in Florida.
And we're going to give them to everybody.
That's right. They did that in D.C. when they first legalized it.
Yeah.
And we can have that here. But all it takes is effort and action. And we're here to do that. We're thank you to FCC, to True Leave. We now have Grow Healthy on board with our petitions. We're going to be doing some work with Move. We have Liberty Health, Curaleaf. These are people who are supporting your right to this plant. And this is how it comes down to. And Sunshine Cannabis, Minority Law have been doing everything we can to donate to this industry.
And today we're giving $5,000.
And we're an organization where this money goes to petitions. We don't pay our board members. We don't reimburse ourselves for costs for coming out. This goes to people out there on the streets getting petitions signed to us to make sure that this is legal for everybody.
Warriors.
Stop getting arrested. Thank you very much. You know, it's been a great partnership. There is, and this is why you got to buy your Gainesville Green. Support them because it supports us. They're the first dispensary in the state to come on with a brand that is willing to have the courage to donate and back to the industry to fight against what our legislature is doing, to give patients this right. And we have to support these companies that are doing this and forget those that are not. Sort of like Knox, they're on the other side of this fence. Right? We have to promote this industry and we need you. So pledge from everybody. You can go online, you can donate us to here, you can take some petitions home. But this is Cannabis Awareness Month, and we need you out. Get 10 petitions signed a week. That's it. You must be able to do that. Do that for us if you really believe in this, and you can be out here today. You can get out and you can get involved like they have, like this man has by creating a great strain. I can't wait to have it in flower. Not a huge big fan, but it takes action. And you guys are doing it. April 9th, there's another hearing on the low THC, or I'm sorry, calling it low THC. The Mexican dirtweed bill. And we need, call your legislators. We don't need a black market, we want a green market here. And we can make it happen. Call them to tell them to stop and vote and get involved.
Mike, I'm not sure if you heard, but we're 20% across the board now, Sunshine Cannabis, everything. Not just Gainesville, everything.
Thank you. It's what you need more than anything. You know, Minority Law and Sunshine Cannabis, FCC, and everybody who wants to get involved in this can. It's time to do it is now. There's no more waiting. There's no more sitting by and getting pissed off at what they're doing. Let's stop it from happening. And we can do this with Regulate Florida. We have employee protections, public use rights, gun right protections. We want to make sure that patients are protected more than anything. And that's why when we looked at Colorado, we looked at other bills throughout the state, we said, what's wrong? And we want to make sure that that doesn't happen here. And our legislature keeps fucking it up, and it's time for us to stop it.
Yeah.
Get involved.
And now we want to give away some marijuana products that run for free.
Let's get the party started.
Yeah. And believe it or not, Rick told me if you support legalization, is this true? If you support legalization and you're going to help us in our fight here at Free the Plant, he's willing to sign any of your memorabilia today in your Gainesville Green product.
Just thank you so much for sharing the space with everybody and all the work that you're doing in the state of Florida. I'm really proud of all the people that are here. It's really quite impressive to see this. And not just coming out for Gainesville Green, but for yourselves. And stepping up, like Mike said, and take some of the forms with you and have your friends in the community sign it. It's a real simple thing to do. It's the only thing you've ever done is to show up and get some signatures. It's that much closer to getting your rights and your liberties and your justice once and for all. So thanks again, everybody, for coming out. Take it over.
Not only for the strains, but for everything that you've been doing over the past 30 years. It's just, you know, we wouldn't be here if it hadn't been for people like yourself fighting this for this long.
Oh,
So,
gee!
our eternal gratitude, 100%. Thank you so much. I feel like I'm the only one that hasn't cried today. It's your turn. I'm not going to do that. This guy. No, seriously, we could not do this without all of you coming out and supporting us. And for these events, doing these past 2 years has been so amazing, so eye-opening, meeting so many of you, and I really cannot thank you enough for coming out today. Really, take this message with you. If there's anything that you leave here today with, aside from a pod, aside from some swag, take the message with you and spread it as far and wide as you can.
Yeah.
That's what we really need. That's what we really need. As far as you can do that now. You got these little computers in your pocket. Send it out to everybody in your network, everybody that you come in contact with, because it means a lot, and it means a lot to people that need this plan. We're moving full steam ahead. We're hosting more and more events. We're going to have a big one down in Miami. I invite you all to come down in June 21st. What? Can you announce that again?
Everybody gets a shirt and a hat today.
This is the message. This is why we're so bright and colorful. We want everyone to know we're trying to free the planet. That's what it's about. So that's why we have the brightest, most colorful stuff. We want attention. We want you to talk to people. We want to get the message out there.
You're really like a walking billboard when you wear this. Right? Everybody stops you and asks about it. It's really amazing. I had a woman stop me in Publix and say, "Hey, I don't wear the shirt, so I wear the hat all the time." But someone's like, "Hey, I like that hat. That's the only shirt I haven't tried yet." That's online at the supermarket from the last person that you would think they would be asking about. Really, that's what's wonderful about wearing this stuff. You get the Gainesville green hat because those are super limited edition.
Yeah, it's just here today.
Just today. So enjoy the rest of the day. And we're gonna have you guys line up on the side over here. We're gonna do this very orderly to give out the pies. Now, if you have a white ticket, that means that you are one of the first 100 people here. The little white ticket. Make sure that you have your patient ID out, or whatever form of legal ID that you have, because you're going to need that too. And make sure